We've got the laser system on the table. We're going to cut off the packaging material. Just want to be careful not to scratch the system. We're going to use scissors. And I'm just going to cut the plastic, kind of lift up while I'm doing it to make sure I don't cut the system, scratch the system. And then I'll come around the side here, do the front. Open the top door, and we're going to pull out some packaging material on the inside. There's also some tape on the front door. The reason we have this turned around the other way is because the main thing we want to show you is how to install the laser tube. We'll take that other box that we pulled out while we were unpacking it, and inside here we've got our accessory kit and potentially some other software depending on what we ordered. Gently slide that onto a table and just make sure that it's completely empty. In my case, I also had the one-touch photo software in there, and it's very light, so you might not notice it. So just take a look inside there and make sure it's completely empty before you discard it. And inside of the accessory box here, we have all the tools we'll need. We'll need these Allen keys in order to install the laser tube. You should have your lens cleaning fluid, a battery for the heat sensor inside the machine, it's a 9-volt battery, and the battery holder, a USB cable to connect the machine to the computer. We need these screws. This actually allows us to install the laser tube inside the machine. A focus tool, which we'll use when we're setting the system up the first time. Power cord. And the user guides, and on the inside of this there is installation instructions where you can go to download the software to install it. If you have additional software that you order with it, you might find a label on the inside that gives you your serial number, and you want to take a photograph of that and save that, because if you lose it, it can be difficult to replace it without having to repurchase. We have our lens tissue, again for cleaning the optics, and our lint-free Q-tips also for cleaning the optics. And they also include, if you're going to use the air assist function, a piece that actually can connect to an air hose to install it to your machine, but a lot of people already have air hoses that plug right in, so you may or may not need this component. So our next step is we are going to use our Allen keys to take the back cover of the machine off and install our laser tube. We're going to remove the back cover. There's 2 Allen screws on the underside of the cover, one on the left, one on the right side. And we are going to use the 3/32 Allen to do this. So I'm going to get under here and loosen the first one. Remove the second one. And with both of these removed, I can remove the back cover of the system. Next, we'll get our laser tube out of the box. Just lift this out of the box. Again, we want to be very careful with this because this component by itself is expensive. We can see on the back of our system, ULR 40, that actually indicates the wattage of the laser tube we're installing, so you know exactly what wattage you've got. So we have our laser tube. This is the back side. We can see on the right of the tube here, this is the beam window, and we want to line that up with the opening on the back of the laser system right here, so that tells you how it goes in there. We've got 2 blocks inside the system, and the laser actually just hangs on those blocks. You can see there's a screw hole opening on the top of the laser tube that actually lines up with the screw hole openings that are on the blocks inside the machine. So I'm just simply going to kind of line this up and tilt it back, let it hang on those blocks and drop it down. And then I'll look down into these holes where the screw holes line up with the holes in the laser tube. Now that those are lined up, I'm going to put the screws that I removed from the accessory kit in there and tighten them down. So this bag that we pulled out of the accessory kit with the screws, I've removed one of them. Also uses 3/32 Allen. And I'm just simply going to install those in. And I don't tighten them down until I've got them both in there, just in case we need to kind of wiggle the laser tube a little bit to just get it aligned perfectly. So I'll get that one just kind of hand tight. Get the second one tight. Go back to the first one. Tighten that up. And then our last step to complete the install of the laser tube is to connect the cable to the tube from the machine. And there's a note on the cable that says, do not connect or disconnect while the power is on. That is critical. If you do that, connected or disconnected the laser tube with the power on, you'll fry a board inside the laser and that will need to be replaced, and that's not covered under warranty. So just make sure that you follow those instructions. We'll plug this in and then we're just going to use these thumb screws to tighten it down. Now that our laser tube is fully installed, we're going to reinstall the back cover. And it's just the reverse process of what we did to remove it. Put it on and line it up. And then we're going to use these screws again. 3/32. Get that lined up. And screwed back in. We're going to install the 9-volt battery that we also got out of the accessory kit. Remove it from its bag, and then on the back you'll see the slot for it down here. And when we install this, you'll hear a quick chirp as long as the battery has a charge to it. So I'm going to push this in now. Now we're going to connect the USB cable and the power cable. The USB port is on the inside right here. Plug that in here. And then on the other side, we've got our power cord. And sometimes people don't get this inserted fully. It can be kind of require a little bit of force to get it fully seated. So I kind of put my end of my palm here and give it a nice push to make sure it's fully seated in there. Otherwise, you might have some issues getting it to turn on. So those are all the connections in the back. The last connection you may have is there's two phone jack looking ports back here. These can be used for connection to a fume extraction cart that has the ability to communicate with the laser. You may or may not have this functionality, but if you do have a fume extraction cart with that capability, you'll have a phone jack looking cable coming off of it that you'll plug into one of these two ports. It doesn't matter which on the back of the system here. We're going to connect the hose that goes to our fume extraction cart to the back of the system. This particular model has a 3-inch port, a single 3-inch port on the back of the system, and it requires 250 CFM at 6 inches static pressure for proper extraction. There's a couple ways you can do extraction. You can purchase a fume extraction cart, which we sell along with these systems, that will remove the air from the system, filter it, and return clean air to the room. But another option would be if you want to connect this to your own extraction system, you'll need to know the CFM rating for this machine as well as the port size so you can connect it up to your own extraction system. In our case, we're going to be connecting it to a BOFA fume extraction cart, and we've got an appropriate sized hose for it that we're going to connect now. So we're going to slip this on to the 3-inch port on the back of the system. And once that's installed, it's got a hose clamp. We're going to use our nut driver. It also accepts a flathead, but I find a nut driver that's appropriately sized for the hose clamp is much easier because it won't slip off like a flathead will. Once we've got that tightened down, that hose is on there securely, we'll connect the other end of the hose to our fume extraction cart, and it'll be ready to go. This is our fume extraction cart. We're going to connect the other side of the hose to it. So what I like to do, because the hose is usually pretty snug, is I like to push the fume extraction cart up to a wall so I can really push against it. Otherwise it's just going to roll on its casters. So the other end here, we've got the 3-inch port on the back. We'll get down here, kind of take a little bit of muscle to get it on. Sometimes you do have to loosen up the hose clamp a little bit. That can be the thing that keeps it from being able to slide on. And then once you've got it on there, just tighten the hose clamp over the metal part of the port, and we can roll our cart back under our system.